All right, folks, how you doing? So, given the current situation in the Middle East, the Iran-Israeli war, and the possible US involvement and general Western involvement, I've been keeping my eye on that. The question arises, well, how did Alexander the Great manage to conquer the Persian Empire? Well, the short, simple answer to that is he didn't. The conquests of Alexander the Great, according to Thomas Beaumont, were actually a European conquest, not an Asiatic one, or at least it began as European, then spread later into Asia, but Russian Asia, not Iranian Asia, because I've seen channels talking about how Iran is a natural fortress, and that is absolutely right. Alexander the Great could not have conquered Iran. He conquered the Persian Empire, but he didn't conquer Iran, because that would have been impossible, even for a demigod like him. I don't care if you are descended from Zeus, Dionysus, Achilles, and Heracles. That would be pretty much impossible for anyone. And the danger is the delusion that Alexander actually conquered those lands, because in propaganda they're going to probably say, well, Alexander managed to conquer this land. No, he fucking didn't. And Thomas Beaumont, the genius that he is the only person in history who's figured it out. But years ago, I pinned the location of some of the important events and battles during the conquest of Alexander. For example, Phrygia was actually Hanover. The Battle of Gaugamela was fought in Saxony, which makes a lot more sense than northern Iraq, because how the fuck would you feed that many men in the middle of a desert? Silesia was really in Poland, southern Poland. Media, or the Median Empire, was really the Magyar or the Hungarian Empire, so it was kind of a pan-Slavic confederacy, probably led by the Russians, because these things usually are. And apparently, Parthia was Finland and northern Russia, which would be far more easy to address than the rocky, mountainous terrains of Iran. And the conquest went then into the Urals. And, the only thing that the mainstream version did manage to get right was really the location of Bactria, and even in it was actually a bit north of Afghanistan. It was in kind of Turkmenistan. So Alexander actually bypassed Iran completely, the much more easily addressed European flatlands, and then pivoted south into India. According to Beaumont, actually, it does make a lot more sense, because if you're thinking about logistics, and if you're thinking about, military constraints, like how the hell are you feeding that many people, and things like that. And in fact, actually, the conquests of Alexander the Great become even more impressive, because this was a conquest which was actually far larger than conventional history reports. When you hear things like Alexander would conquer the world, well, as impressive as the mainstream version is, it's not really the whole world, But Beaumont's version really is the entirety of the known world, pretty much. So Beaumont's version actually makes a lot more sense when you think about it in a number of ways. Now, I addressed this in the past with Jed Skeptic, so go check it out. I'll link it in the description below. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you the next time.